Hello and welcome to day 80 in this quest for a 2000 rapid rating on chess.com. So let's begin, find an opponent, and see what happens today. All right, as we wait for an opponent, all right, we have a 1680 opponent, so they're getting tougher. They start with e4. We'll play e5 and just see what they do. So the Ruy Lopez. All right. Interesting choice here. All right. Let me think here. How do I want to go about playing this? Um, hmm. All right. All right, so I'm a little rusty on this. I haven't played this kind of variation in a little while, where they played d3. All right, so they played that move, preventing a pin there. Um, what do we want to do? Maybe we go here, try and develop. All right, we'll go ahead and play that, see what happens here. Okay, so that's an interesting approach by playing that. All right. So now, what do we want to play here? Probably should have played this b5 move earlier. All right. Do I jump up here and attack? Well, let's see. All right, we'll just play that to keep these pieces out of g5. You know, that way he can't get a pin on my knight. All right, so he captures, giving up his bishop pair, which I don't mind that move. I am left with this isolated pawn here. Okay. Now, what do we want to do? Let's see, do we just develop our bishop? And if so, where? How about... All right, if we might as well just develop the bishop here. Okay, so he's going after that. I have to go up there to protect. So it creates a battery lining up here. But he is also starting to target this pawn right here. You know, if he pushes forward here, I'm probably going to have to protect. Well, maybe I want to move forward here. Probably need to figure out a place to... Okay, well that is interesting. All right. All right, do I retreat my knight? Or do I bring this knight up to here? Maybe I retreat the knight back and then get ready to jump up here. All right, so it's getting a little tricky now. Should we just start pushing this pawn up? That's another option as well. You know, he could push this forward. You know, and that could cause some issues. All right, where to move this knight? And should I try and take this open file? Do I want to push this pawn forward? He could try and move his knight up here, come in somewhere. All right, let's just do that. Which I don't know if that's the greatest move. Retreating this knight back, it could help us push this F pawn here. Okay, and so he sees that coming and just stops it. All right. So now what do we want to do? Do we go there anyway? You know, if we go here, he captures, we capture. All right, so I'm thinking maybe we just jump in there anyway. We just go up there anyway. The only thing, he could just capture and end up swinging his knight over here. But we are threatening to take and then target his knight there. Okay. Anyway, it's getting a little trickier now. right. Well, now we can attack like that. And we're attacking his knight. So I guess that's good for us. But, you know, we're pretty open here, so we do have to watch out for that. All right, well, his knight is under attack, so that's good for us. If he has to move his knight, we can pick off this pawn. So that is not bad. We do have to watch out for this open file here. And our rook, or excuse me, our bishop is a little bit passive at the moment. Oh, and we can jump up here. Once that knight moves, we could jump up here and threaten this pawn with our queen here and the bishop. So that's not bad. Okay. Now, do we ignore this pawn and just go up here with our queen to h4, threatening? There's no way he can protect that. So if we go up there, he's going to have to move here. So what do we do here? All right, I'm thinking we move up there and go after that. So we'll go ahead and do that. Try and target his king. I don't know, maybe it would have been better to pick that pawn off first over there. That might have been a better move. Well, I don't know. That would give him time to put his rook on this open file and maybe come up here and guard the pawn. So at least this way, what's better for him? Probably, yeah, moving that knight over. All right, so we capture with check. All right, now if he moves there, what do we want to do? If we check, he can just block with his knight. All right. All right. Should we attack that knight? Attack that knight, probably. That's probably the best thing to do, is to attack that knight. So we'll go there, attack. And if he captures, it just pulls our rook up here and kind of helps us a little bit. And we probably need to see what we can do about this bishop as well. I don't know. Right now that bishop is not doing much. And earlier I was wondering if maybe it would have been better to capture with the bishop there, threaten a discovered attack on the king. Alright, so this just helps me bring my rook up, which is fine for me. And we're threatening a mate in 2, or longer. I don't know, if we bring our rook to g6, checking, and he blocks with the knight, we checkmate. So what will he do? All right, well, that's not so good for him either. So is that the end? Huh. I think we got him now. So we just pin that knight and threaten a mate. With that, now he can block with his bishop, and then he would have to give up his queen. So that's probably the only way he can save the game, is block with his bishop. We capture with the rook. Then his queen would have to recapture. And then we capture and we just, take his rook there. Or excuse me, take his queen, sorry. And then we just have a winning endgame. All right, so yeah, his only option now is to block with the bishop to g5. Then we capture with our rook. The queen would have to capture. Then we just capture the queen with the pawn. And then, I don't know, then we can just move over here and pick off this pawn. We have different options. We could try and swing our other rook into the game. And we also have to watch out that, his bishop could try and, well, no, he'll have to give up his bishop. So what am I thinking? All right, so they resign. Yeah, there's not much that they could do here. So let's take a quick game review, and then we'll do an analysis and figure out what, oh man, another 90% accuracy rating. So I'll take those anytime I can get them. So I played at 93.4 versus their 76.6. I had one great move and only one inaccuracy. So they had 2 inaccuracies and 1 mistake. So we'll have to take a look at those and see what they were. And this says some good positional play let you seize the advantage in the middle game. So let's take a look at this interesting game. We'll do this quick game review. I think I misplayed the opening a little bit, the Ruy Lopez, which I hadn't played this variation in a few months. So I was a little rusty on it. I need to brush up on it to keep it in my memory. All right, so it liked this move. It says you capitalized on your opponent's mistake and are now winning. You strike at the center with a pawn, countering the opponent's ability to grab space. So the reason this worked pretty good, I guess, is because that knight is unprotected now. And so our rook is lined up on that knight. And if we break things open, what should he have done? Probably just ignored this. Well, if he did, yeah, I guess he could. We're going to obtain an advantage no matter what. So we'll take a look at that in the analysis. Let's see what happened next here. We start trading. Now his knight's under attack. So what should he do here? That was a strong discovery, and you'll win a knight. So, then now they're really in trouble here. It says this was the best move, taking with the queen, because that does give me the initiative. He's got to run to the only square available here. And then it really liked this move, pinning the knight. And this is where they resigned, I believe. Yes. So it says you really outplayed your opponent in that one. The opening was balanced. You overpowered your opponent in the middle game. And looks like I played at a 2200 level versus their 1650. So 95% opening accuracy for my opponent versus 95.7 for me. And then the middle game, they just had trouble in the middle game. 58.2 and I had 91.7. All right, so back to the beginning of the game. We'll look at the analysis here and see what what we can learn from the game. So one way to improve in chess is to really do a good game review after you play your games. Now, because I'm doing this video, I'm trying to speed things up, but the best way would be for me to go over these games without the computer and then look at it again with the computer. But because of time constraints, I'm trying to keep things moving along here. All right, because I'm already slow to begin with, if you haven't noticed already. So let's go here. E4, E5, knight to F3, knight to C6, and so bishop to B5. We have the Ruy Lopez. So the most common continuations here are A6, which is what I play, and knight to F6 is about equal, which is the Berlin defense or Berlin variation in the Ruy Lopez. So where you just play an immediate knight to F6 here, attacking this pawn. But A6 is what I played. So here, usually, now one option is to capture the exchange variation. Third best move, it says they could, retreat here. But it looks like the most commonly played move is just retreating to keep your bishop pair. So here I play knight to F6 to develop a piece, getting closer to being able to castle. Now my opponent plays D3, which is a book move, protecting this pawn. But they could have castled as well, and now it looks like I should have immediately played B5, but I played D6, which was the second best move and still a book move. And now looks like C3 is played most often, but we have H3 here. So, what should be played next after this H3 move? Looks like C3 was best, which helps, it gives the bishop an escape hatch. Also, C3 helps keep this knight, out of the center, I guess. But C3 mainly helps control this D4 square. So in the future, you can try and push this D pawn up to D4, and it'll be backed up by the C pawn. So here the computer says I should immediately, to make the game even, I should attack that bishop, and I didn't do that. I played an inaccuracy here, so let's take a look at this. This is what I should have played, driving that bishop back first. So bishop to B3 would be their response, of course, and then the computer's actually saying immediately jump knight to a5 to grab the bishop pair here. The only thing about that, if we take that, he could push to c3 and then recapture with his queen, or he could maybe capture here and grab the half open a file for his rook. But he'd probably play c3. Then if I captured, it would help him develop his queen and line it up on my king. And I'd have to be careful about that. If the knight tries to jump up here and attack my f-pawn. All right, anyway, knight to a5 is what it says I should do here. Other option is an immediate bishop to e7. Then I'm ready to castle. But looks like knight to a5 is recommended here. So then what is the option? To just ignore that and castle is what is recommended. That or bishop to d2, targeting the knight, but I'm going to capture anyway. Or even knight to c3. Okay. So in the game, I played an inaccuracy here, this g6 move. So I kind of got my move orders a little bit wrong here, because I think in this variation, if I push this first, then they go here, then later I can try and play this g6 move. I remember playing an interesting game with that variation before. So let's take a look here. I don't know. It looks like, should he immediately pin this knight? Then if I go here to protect it, he could just add his queen to it. So I don't know. Yeah, this is not the greatest move. And you see it swings the game in white's favor. All right, let's continue on here. So they decide to take some control of the center here, thinking that, he can jump his knight in here, maybe into here to d5. So I play bishop to g7, which is best. And now we have castling by both sides here. All right, so now knight to c3 is played, although the computer actually likes this immediate pawn push here. All right, so now it wanted me to jump in the center, and I thought about that move in the game, because if I jump into the center, and if the knight captures me, I can recapture towards this knight here and then chase that knight away, and then jump this pawn up and kind of lock down the center a little bit. So in the game, we have a capture of the knight, so giving up the bishop pair. The computer says that's a good move, but it does swing the game back in black's favor, because now I have the bishop pair and they do not. It wanted developing of this bishop to e3 instead. So capture. Now the bishop just develops here to d2. But now the computer wants rook to b1. You line up on this b file, maybe in case the rook tries to move forward here and target this pawn. But then you can use this rook to reinforce this b pawn as you push it forward and use it like a battering ram. So bishop to e6 is played here, just developing. And now the computer actually wanted an immediate retreat of the knight. And then I guess maybe you could try and jump the knight up here possibly. So you jump the knight back to here. then where are you going with this knight? I mean, the obvious reason you would do this is, maybe to push this f pawn forward. But in the game, we develop our bishop. Now, they develop the queen or move the queen over here, creating a battery, targeting this pawn. But it looks like it would have been better to move over here and target this pawn instead. And then I would have to do what? Bring my queen up to d7, it looks like. So queen to d7 to guard that. Oh, man. Yeah, that could be tricky. No, okay. I was thinking if their knight jumped in here, but our queen would be protected, so we could just capture that knight with our pawn. But the computer wants the queen to move here to a4 and just target this pawn, and then you would be kind of stuck moving your queen up here and guarding this pawn. So in the game, instead the queen bishop battery targets h6, so we have to protect there, which is the best move. And now they move forward here, probably to prevent the rook from moving over here and targeting the b pawn, perhaps. So now we jump back this way, but the computer actually wanted us to go forward. And I was debating that, but I thought, well, if I jump forward and he pushes the pawn chasing me away, where do I go then? Would I have to retreat back? Or do I go here? The bishop could capture, then if I recapture, the queen captures. So, I don't know. Anyway, that's why I decided to retreat back, so this pawn wouldn't be pushed attacking me. All right, and they push forward anyway, and the computer says this is a mistake here, that queen to c2 would have been better. So, let's take a look, see if we can figure out why queen to c2 would be better. Well, it connects the rooks. That's the most obvious reason why. You just develop the queen, connect the rooks. It protects this knight, I guess, in case you want to move the bishop. And then what should we do here in response? Well, it looks like the best thing to do is push the f pawn. So if we do that, computer likes capture, and then bishop capture. No, now it changed its mind. It wants g takes f5. And now the computer changed its mind on that last move, saying knight retreat would have been better. But that would just allow us to push forward and gain space. We'll look at that in a second. So if we capture this way, this is what, well, now it's saying the bishop should capture. So come on, computer, make up your mind here. Maybe I need to increase the power a little bit, the settings here on the computer. All right, so if we play that, knight to e2 is the best response. So what if we capture this way? Now it's saying that is best, and that once again white should retreat. That way you can push this pawn forward here. And now see, the computer is giving mixed options. Now it's saying knight to e1 is even better, which is kind of interesting. I mean, I guess you would push this, and then what? Capture. Rook captures. And then, I don't know, maybe you retreat back. All right. Anyway, what else were we going to take a look at? So after queen to c2, what is it saying? Well, now it wants c5. Oh, that's just one of the options. So it was saying F5, but it doesn't like that as much. So if we play, uh, I don't know, I still like the F, and it says that's best, pushing that F pawn, because you give scope to your rook here. And if they retreated back like this, which now it's saying that's the best move, well, then you just push up to F4 and gain more space. You lock out the bishop. Now the computer recommends F3. That's an interesting choice. F3. Knight to F3 is second, but F3 and C5 or A5 once again. So, and yeah, now it's saying knight to F3 would have been better. So sometimes the computer is undecided when moves are pretty close to one another. Okay, so back to the game. We had G4. So this was the mistake. And it allows me to push F5, which now the computer is saying that is a great move. The best thing to do is capture with the G pawn towards the center, which is what was played. Then we capture towards the center. And now the best thing to do is just ignore this pawn and play queen to D1, it looks like, to guard that knight. So queen to D1, guarding the knight. And at this point, knight to C5. Knight to C5. Okay. Well, the second option is queen to F6. Oh yeah, queen to F6. That might be an interesting move. Well, let's look at knight to C5. It says that was best, but now the computer is thinking and doesn't want that. Then we would have what? Queen to E2 here, guarding the pawn and the knight. So maybe queen to F6, because now you're threatening to capture and then capture with the queen and grab that knight. So the king stepping up to G2. Looks like that is best. And then once again, knight to C5, or you continue with your plan. See, now if I capture here, the knight would jump forward, attacking my queen. And then what do I do? I mean, I have a check here. So knight to C5. Looks like that is recommended. But let's see what happens. Does it like this move or not? It's thinking. So nope, it says that is an inaccuracy. That rook to F7 is best. All right, so let's look at rook to F7. So the one thing I see that's good about this rook to F7 move is that maybe you could move your bishop out of the way, and then swing this rook over here to this open file. Try and double your rooks up over here at some point. Okay. What does it recommend here? At this point, black would just be ahead. Knight to H2 to just go ahead and get rid of that threat. And then we should capture here. But I don't know. It's not liking that because, and I'm not sure I like that either, because the knight could capture chasing your queen, but I don't know. It doesn't, it likes the pawn capturing in the center. Probably because then you're threatening to push forward maybe and attack that pawn, break open the center. So what did it say was best for us? Queen to H4. So if we went with queen to H4, and then we're threatening to push this pawn and attack here. But of course the queen well, if we captured there, well, let's take a look. Knight to f3 is best. Then, well, now it's saying queen to e2, but if they played that, what would we do here? Queen back to e7. Okay, because our queen is under attack. All right, well, before I dig too deeply into all these variations, which I tend to do, let's take a look at what happened in the game. So the king moved over to h2. So if we go back a little bit and see what happened, we had this mistake move. g4 was played. We push forward. The computer really likes this move, and we start breaking open the F and G files, which now the king moves over here. I guess he was worried about this pawn being captured by the bishop. So we go ahead and capture this way, which the computer says is best. Now we're attacking the unprotected knight. So the knight retreats to e1, which is an inaccuracy. Oh man, the best move is knight to g5 here, because after knight to e1, they are already just losing by six, the equivalent of 6 pawns. So let's see how knight to g5 would play out. If that occurs, well then, what should we do? It looks like we just go ahead and capture that knight. H takes g5. So that is best. And then knight takes e4. Now this pawn is under attack. What should we do? Knight to c5, attacking that knight. So knight to c5, attacking the knight, threatening to pick off the central pawn. Knight to g5 check. Although it prefers the bishop capture, targeting our queen instead. So if they played this, knight takes g5, well, I don't know. That looks pretty serious because we have to go here. Now f3, no, queen to e1. Oh, yeah, this looks a little more dangerous. If queen to e1 is played, oh, excuse me, e1. I was thinking d1, where you try and swing down here, but I guess the bishop could move over here and cover that. Says queen to d1 is good, but either way, white is just losing here. So if we go back, look at this move, why does it like that? Because it looks like we can just go up here, attack the queen, but then they could attack us. So now the best thing is to just get rid of our bishop pair, or wait, knight takes d3. Oh, okay, it wants us to go ahead and do that. Just take the pawn. Now it's saying we should have moved our bishop first. So if they capture, then we attack, and then we're still targeting the queen. So what would be best here? Queen up to e3, bishop to f5, protecting our knight and getting this bishop out of the line of fire. And then rook to g1, so lining up on our king here. And if we're not careful, that could wind up being a little dangerous. Now it wants us to play king to h8. King to h8. rook at a to f1. Now queen up to f6. And what next? Queen to g3. So this line would at least give white some counterplay. So if we go back, after we break things open here and we're attacking the knight, it looks like knight to g5. That would have at least made things a little more difficult for black. So, if you're losing, at least try and find moves that give your opponent a difficult task to get that win. Sometimes you can, if you're already losing, you might as well at least make it difficult for your opponent if you can by, this move here, knight to g5. So the best move here is to capture, but then, there's all these options. The knight jumps into the game here with this capture. Then let's see, what does it recommend here? Now it's saying king to g8 immediately is what we should play. But anyway, you get the picture. Instead of playing passively, so if we go back, my opponent plays this move, just retreating. And I don't know, maybe at least retreating here would have protected this pawn, because now there's no way to protect this pawn. So if we go back, the second best move is knight to g1, protecting this pawn so my queen can't jump up here and target it. So, after this move, that's a game-losing mistake there. All right, so we play queen to h4, the best move, threatening to pick this off with, with a check. And they capture, which is best. But at this point, they're just, white is just losing. So capture with check is best. I was wondering about capturing with the bishop, but it doesn't like that move. So, let's take a look at that. If we go there, that's an inaccuracy. Black is still winning, but it doesn't like that move as much. Oh, now it's recommending g4 here. G4. Bishop to g5, attacking our queen. And then we would pick that off. Then what? Bishop to g5. Pawn, the h-pawn captures the bishop. The queen captures. And then it recommends... Well, let's take a look at it. Bishop to g5. We should go ahead and capture there. And then queen takes g5. Well, now it's saying the knight capture or taking there would be better. But I don't know. This is just tricky stuff here. Now, rook to f4. How does that even work? Because it looks like they could just pick off your queen for free. Oh, okay, f4. I was thinking f5. Okay, get it together here and pay attention. Okay, so rook to f4, just guarding your queen. It develops a piece. We didn't want to take the queen because then there's a fork of the king and the bishop here. So now, knight to g2, attacking our queen. Says that is best, but we should go ahead and capture. Then we have a discovered attack there. So queen captures. Rook captures. Then the king captures. And what are we left with here? We're ahead by a piece. So we have extra bishop. And pawn-wise, they have 5, and we have, what, 5 as well. So the recommendation here is to trade off one of the rooks. So rook to h8. Oh, excuse me, it's black's turn. Doubling the rooks. So, yeah, that would help us exchange off material. But now they want us to move our king over here. Anyway, let's get back to the game. So knight to e4, jumping forward here, capturing the pawn. So we go ahead and capture with check, which was best. The king can only go to g1. And now we play knight to f6, which the computer says is the best move. But now it's saying d5 would have been better. So let's take a look at d5. If we played d5, what does that do? Drives this knight away. So capture, because if you're behind in material, you want to go ahead and trade off pawns. And this will let the queen come down into the position, possibly. So if we do that, knight to g2, then now it's saying queen to f6 would have been better, which I don't know if I like that, because then you could maybe move here and target the queen. So anyway, you know, we're seeing that white is just in a lot of trouble here. So is there anything else we want to look at? Knight to f6 next to try and get this knight up into the position. So back to the game. The knight captured in the center. We capture with check. The king retreats. We bring this other knight up into the game. And the computer says that's still an excellent move. And now, what do we have here? f3 would be best. That way, if we take the knight, they could recapture. Oh no, they don't want to do that. They would have to capture with the other pawn, because if they captured, you know, then we would have if they captured with the f pawn after they play f3 and we take their knight, well, then we have a queen, a rook and a queen piling up on this. And, well, threatening a mate up there once this f-pawn's out of the way. So f3 is the best move. But instead, they capture. Computer says that's still good, but, man, now it's almost 9 points of material in black's favor after that. So f3 would have been a little bit better. But then what do? We play, oh, we just ignore that and just jump up here anyway. Because if they capture, there's a threat of mate by capturing with the rook there. So rook to f2. Oh, man. Yeah, now that is crazy. Rook to f2 is the best move. And now you can just capture that. So you just go ahead, more material. The knight capturing is best. Man. Then queen to g3. Knight to g2 to block. So you're trying to make a wall here, but I don't know. It's and then you have this. You have e4, which I was looking at in the game. The possibility of targeting that. So what should they do? Go here, attack our queen. We will go ahead and capture like this. And now the queen jumps up, you know, trying to relieve the attack, you know, lighten this attack that black has going on. And here we should just trade off material. So we would just capture. All right. The final moves in the game. The knight captures. So we capture with the rook. Although it likes the bishop capture better. No way. Huh. Well, I guess, okay. Yeah, that still lets us jump over here in our next move. And, it kind of develops the bishop a little bit better. Here, this is blocking our bishop in case we want to push that that pawn there. So we could take a quick look at that. Computer actually likes that better because now we can still just move over here. So once again, the best thing is F3, but it's not looking too good for white. So the final moves, the rook captures, the knight jumps up here, and now, was that best? Looks like F3 was the best move. No, now it's saying knight to G2. So after this move, then we just threaten a mate here. And my opponent resigned because, what do we have here? It's what I mentioned in the game. The only way to stop this checkmate with queen or rook captures here is, especially queen captures, is for them to block. And then, the second best move is to capture, but even better is E4. Pushing forward here, targeting this. Because I guess, well, I don't know. It says that's better. I mean, okay, let's play it and see what happens here. Now it's now it's saying it's better to just threaten the mate. So if we go back, all right, now it's saying that is better, which this looked like a better move because you're just renewing the mate threat, and the only way to stop it is to give up the queen. Then you capture, and now rook at F, or rook at A to E1. So you're just ahead in material here by what? 8 pawns worth of material. So, it is not looking good. So rook at A to E1, where you may threaten to come down here and attack this queen and chase it away. Okay, you get the idea. So please like and subscribe for anybody that hasn't already. Feel free to leave comments, suggestions, or requests for future videos that you would like to see. And thank you for watching. Have a super chess day.